Good, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about a function which is named database functions, as they are doing aggregations like sum, average, minimum, maximum, and so on, but within a database, or here better to explain, in a table. Of course we could do a sum of all the wages, and we could do with the sum if function a wage for every gender, for every qualification or department, or for all things, but it might be a little bit more complicated. We could do a pivot table for analysis, but changes within pivot table for somebody not familiar with pivot table is kind of tricky. So that's one of the reasons why we want to go for the database functions. And for the database functions, you need to prepare a kind of a search part or a filter where you simply normally take the headlines of the column that we had here, kind of copy and paste them over there, because you need them to be written exactly as they are standing there. And we need to have an additional line where we expect the people to write in their informations later on. For the database function, it's a D in front of it, so if we are interested in a sum here, the function would mean D sum, and here you can see the different functions arguments. The first one is the database where you want to do the analytics from, and that's, for example, all those. Please make sure that while marking it you include the headlines, because this is what he compares later on with the criteria. For the field, we need to type in what field he needs to sum up at, as we want to sum. We could specify a cell where we put the name of the field inside rather than writing it in here, because if we want to change that later on, we know that we simply change the field. And the criteria is the filtering part, as I explained in the beginning, where we have all the different headlines of the database inside, and a line below where we can enter information. So if we do so, we see that this dsum function now gives 660,000 euro in total, and that means if we simply mark all day, you see that the average is 27,000, the count is 24, and the sum is 660. So basically our database function works. Now if we enter information into the filtering line, you see directly that the result of the dsum function is changed, because it now only sums up those with the gender of male. And if we change kind of other things like employee or worker or production or sale, all we need to do is put the proper information into the field, and you see that the sum is changed to a combination of male and sales department. So what we want to do is kind of give the people a chance of entering information here and limit our result in the function down there, and that's much easier than explaining to them how to use the proper pivot table. If we do so, most probably we could kind of mark those cells and allow only those cells to be changed by using kind of the data and data validation part, as we explained before. And we could say, well, in the gender it's only male and female, qualification it's only worker, employees, departments only those departments, and so on. But what is quite nice is, for example, you could not only type kind of 22, um, but you could also say, well, all those below 25, or above 45, and he sums up all the wages of the people with the age of 45 or larger. Please be aware, we specified for the dsum function the criteria field as B7 to I8. That means we specified those two lines here. You could specify a third line, but then you need to take into account within the line the combination of the entered fields is and by line to line the combination is or. So you need to be a little bit more exact while specifying what is allowed and what do you want to see in here. Mostly two lines are for most of the cases enough. Sometimes I'm a little bit lazy, and that means If we look at the dsum function, there's a dcount and daverage function also. The only thing they differ is those three characters. So everything else is the same. It's a database, it's a field, and a criteria. And due to the fact that those are the same, we can simply lock them with the F4 key. And now if we copy and paste the dsum function and simply say not dsum but dcount, and here not dsum but daverage. And you see instantly now we have the different results, so the total sum, the counting, the average. And if we say how's this with a male or with a female or with a female worker, and now you see if we set worker doesn't know anything because here it is work and empl, and if we change that to work, you see there's 7 workers and a total 204,700 and an average of 29,700. And that's what we want to do. For example, also for the gender, we could go for the data validation and make sure that people only are able to enter male and female to do so. Additionally, this could be combined with the sensitivity analysis. That means we have here, we have our functions here, we have our variation, and that means if we mark this now, we could tell him, well, what if we take the information from the first column, means product, purchase, administration, warehouse, and sale, and put it into the department cell, and you see instantly that we now have a splitting up. And if we say how is it with the male, we see that there's in the purchase department no male working there due to the fact that sum is null and the count is 0, and the average is then a division by 0, means an error message. So that's one of the things that you can go for with the database functions, and it's no problem because the pivot table itself is a quite nice tool, but for somebody not familiar with pivot tables, it's a hard time using it or changing it. And for this, we have kind of the database functions where the people are simply used to enter information into the criteria or into filter part, and out of that we have the part makes life easier for the people. Okay, thanks for your attention. See you again next time.